I want to tell you about a client of mine. I was talking to her today. She's trying to grow her business from about $23 million this year to $150 million in 2030. So we're talking about, 6x growth in 5 years. She's working with a really skilled operational growth team to shore up that part of her business, and she's coming to level 10 to get the marketing engine in place for that kind of rapid growth. And it's a good thing too, because I've actually done this before. I've done it more than once to that level. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go through this. My name is Rich Harshaw. I'm the founder and CEO of Level 10 Contractor. Got 30 years of experience. I've got a book called Unlocking Unlimited Lead Flow. I've helped hundreds of contractors escape the feast or famine marketing. So let's start with this question. It's the most important question. How do you actually grow from $23 million to $150 million in just 5 years from a leads perspective? Now, look, she's in the bathroom business, so the first step obviously is you got to sell more bathrooms. She's also considering 2 other macro level strategies. The first one is to get into other areas of business, like plumbing, for instance. It has to do with bathrooms, plumbing, right? And then the second one is to sell to a larger geographic area than she's currently in. But here's my question. Does she really need to do those last 2 things? Obviously, she does need to sell more bathrooms, but plumbing sounds good, but man, that's a whole other business. And do you really want to be strung out over 5 or 10 states to hit your revenue and growth goals? So here's an idea. How about just figure out how to sell 6 times more bathrooms than you're doing now in the same exact geographic area? To do that, we have to reverse engineer the math. So let's go through this. This is going to be a little bit math nerdy, but stick with me. Her average sale is about $20,000. That's a nice round, easy number for math. They're doing about $23 million this year in sales. So if you do the math on that, it's about 1,150 bathrooms a year, or just under 100 a month. And that's amazing. It's a great business, no doubt about it. She's done a great job. So to get to 150 million, they need to sell 6 times more bathrooms. So that's about 600 bathrooms a month. Okay, let's actually make an assumption that the average price of a bathroom is going to grow over the next 5 years from the current $20,000 to, let's say, $22,500, something like that, based on both inflation, I mean, look, it's here, and being able to sell for more money as their reputation paves the way for them. I really believe that's going to happen. So that means that they're going to have to sell about 555 bathrooms, that's the math, 555 per month in 2030, which is about 6,666 a year, which is kind of a Satan number, 666, no, that's 666. Anyway, whatever. All of the above is not the point of today's video. That's what I'm not here to talk to you about. It's really just setting the table for the real conversation that we're going to have right now, which is how on earth is she supposed to get enough leads to make that work? And that's our job here at Level 10. The answer can be found in a song from way back in 2001. Do you remember this? I don't think she's been very famous in the last 20 years, but it was a gal named Michelle Branch, and here's the song.
'Cause you're everywhere to me, and when I close my eyes, it's you I see.
You're everywhere to me, and when I close my eyes, it's you I see. Okay, that's the theme of today's video. If you want to generate a ton of leads, then you have to be everywhere marketing-wise. Now, at the present moment, right now, they're closing about a third of their leads, which means that they need 3 leads for every close. So if they want 555 closes, they're going to need 1,665 leads every month. That's set leads, okay? That's 55 a day if it's a 30-day month, a little bit more than that in February, okay? So to give us a little bit of wiggle room, let's assume that the number is 60. That allows for some rescission, perhaps, other unpredictable weird stuff that always happens. So we'll just call it 1,800 leads a month. That's sets, okay? Now, guess what? Yesterday, I was talking to her just a few minutes ago, they said 28 leads. They're already basically halfway to their goal, but that's only on some days. We've got to get it there every day. So here's the real question. Are there even 1,800 leads a month to be had in her current geographic area? The major metropolitan area that she services, which is Boston, has about 5 million people and about 2.5 million housing units according to Google, ChatGPT, things like that. 60% of those are single family, so that's about 1.5 million homes, and about 300,000 of those are renters, which leaves about 1.2 million single family homes. That means that they're occupied by people who actually own the home. And well over half of those are worth over $500,000. Probably about 800,000 of those homes are worth over $500,000. Okay. So look, I did the research online. It's not that hard to do. You can figure these numbers out for your service area with about 6 minutes of internet research. That's a worthwhile 6 minutes. So why don't you just go do it? Just saying, take a look for your own business. Okay. So here's the situation. They're going to have to sell about 6,666 bathrooms, like I said a minute ago, to 800,000 homes. Okay. So there's 800,000 homes. You got to sell 6,600 bathrooms. That's just under 1% per year. Okay. Oh yeah. Look at that. It is like a devil. Anyway, let's get back on track here. Is this this doable? It depends on how many people normally get their bathroom remodeled every year. So let's look that up. All right, do your thing, Google. Do your thing, ChatGPT. According to the National Kitchen and Bath Association, they estimate that 11 to 16% of homeowners every year remodel their bathroom. 16%. Now, let's go a little bit low. That sounds high to me. Let's just say it's 10%. So out of the 800,000, that's 80,000 owner-occupied single-family homes in that area that are worth $500,000 or more. Look, see the graphic. We only need 8%. This is getting fun. Let's keep the math going. I asked my client, how much do they spend on marketing right now as a percentage of sales? And she said 12%. Okay, so then I asked her, how much money do you put to the bottom line as a percentage with your 12% marketing spend? And she said 20%. Very healthy margin, okay? So my suggestion is to keep the budget at 12% and then consider raising it to maybe even 15% as you're trying to gobble up more and more market share. Then you can bring it back down a little bit. But for our purposes, I'm going to use this number 12%. So here's the math. If we've got to sell 555 bathrooms a month at $22,500 each, remember that was our number, that's right at about $12.5 million a month in sales. And if you spend 12% of that on marketing, that's $1.5 million a month in one DMA. That's for Boston. Holy crap. So here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a $1.5 million monthly budget. So if you want to know how to get to $150 million a year in sales, well, here's the answer. It's $1.5 million a month in your marketing budget. By the way, did you catch that shortcut? It's kind of a cool little shortcut. Annual revenue goal, 150 million, times 1%, $1.5 million. That's your monthly marketing budget. So to bring it down a little bit, if your goal is 20 million, then your monthly marketing budget should be about $200,000. Okay. See how easy it is? Okay. Let's go back. Go back to the client. All right. Right now, they're spending about $80,000 a month on TV, and they're on 3 of the 5 local stations. They're also spending about $20,000 a month on OTT. They're not spending anything on radio right now. Okay. So they're going to need to dramatically up all of those numbers to be on all of the programs, on all of the TV stations. That's going to take their monthly buy from $80,000 to about $125,000 to $150,000. Again, a month. We're talking about being everywhere. Radio is going to add about another $100,000 at max spend. That's going to allow them to get about a 2.5 frequency on the top 5 to 8 stations. If you're not familiar with how that works, then you'll have to watch a different video where I talk about radio and frequency. Now, OTT, let's get to that one. It's going to have to go up from about $20,000 a month now to closer to $100,000 a month. And we can do some great targeting. We can narrow it down to just the people that we want to reach, $100,000 a month. So right there, right off the bat, our budget is up to about $350,000 a month, give or take. I'm going to bump it to $400,000 a month just to make sure that we have enough money to cover all the TV, all the OTT, all the radio. We're going to be on everything. What is that? $5 million a year, $400,000? We are going to dominate the radio waves, the TV. They're not really waves, OTT. Anyway, we're going to dominate. Now, here's the question. What are they getting for their money? How is this domination working? The answer is that they're on every TV program that makes any sense to be on, both linear and CTV or OTT, however you want to say it. Plus, they're on all the radio stations that matter. Awareness of this company is going to go through the roof. And if they have a strong identity, and let me promise you this, they do, okay? They have a great identity. This is going to be a killer foundation for this marketing program. And guess what? We still have $1.1 million a month to play with. We've only spent $400,000 out of the $1.5 million. So what could we spend that money on? Just a rough ballpark estimate. How about this? $100,000 a month on Facebook and Instagram. And let's go to 150. Let's throw TikTok in there. We'll do some Twitter advertising, and we'll also do some retargeting. So there's 150,000. Did you know? I think you know this. Facebook reaches about 70% of adults regularly on a monthly basis, but we're going to spend that money on their target prospects, not just everybody. And that's going to be geographically and demographically speaking. So laser focused ad spends. There's not going to be any waste. And then on top of that paid social, I want to spend another $25,000 a month on an aggressive organic social media campaign. This is for content creation and posting. This is going to get us about 10 posts per day on all the platforms. And if you multiply the platforms, we're talking, close to 100 posts a day, easily. Now, we're up to about $575,000 a month that we've spent. We've still got a lot of budget to go. This is like the shopping spree that never ends. So how about this? Per click. Done. All right. How about let's place their ads in every shared mailer that exists? Valpak, Home Mag, Clipper Magazine, RSVP, whatever we can find. So let's say that that's another $100,000 combined. It's probably not going to be that high, but hey, look, if you look hard enough, you're going to find more places to spend that budget, other shared mailers that I maybe don't know about right now. And by the way, guess what? We still have $825,000 a month left to spend. This is how you dominate, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hire a crew that's going to attend every festival, every carnival, every bazaar, every event in town, $100,000, okay? And remember, that's per month, not $100,000 a year. That's $1.2 million a year. We still have $725,000 a month left. Do you see where this is headed?
'Cause you're everywhere to me. And when I close my eyes, it's you I see.
Thanks, Michelle. Let's add another $100,000 a month hiring and managing a massive door knocking crew. Now, my friend over at ChatGPT estimates that I could have a 10-person crew plus a manager who could knock 30 to 40,000 doors a month, which should generate 300 to 600 qualified appointments. So let's assume worst case 300 appointments, not 600 on the high end. Let's go 300. You need to do some math here. That's 1/6 of our needed sits on only 1/15 of our budget. But guess what? We're not going to hit the low end number of 300 because every time somebody opens the door, they're going to look at the guy standing there with their shirt on that says the company name, and they're going to go, oh, you guys, I've seen you everywhere. There's going to be credibility and trust.
'Cause you're everywhere to me. And when I close my eyes, it's you I see.
On top of that, how about we pour, I don't know, $150,000 a month into billboards? Remember, that's a month, not per year, with billboard CPMs ranging from about $1.50 to $5. Let's assume $4, for example. That would buy us, I don't know, I'd have to do the math. It's a crap ton of billboards, depending on the location, depending on the traffic. It's going to be anywhere from, at the very minimum, 10 billboards up to maybe 30, 40, 50 billboards. We're going to be all over the place, and we still have $475,000 to spend. And we're kind of running out of stuff to spend it on. So let's do this. Let's wrap all the trucks, make sure that those are done. Let's wrap some buses so people see them while they're driving around. Let's get some of those bus benches. You can get a lot of those. All of that stuff, let's say it's $50,000 a month. So we're down to $425,000 a month. And oh crap, man, almost forgot about SEO, which is weird because that's kind of our bread and butter. But to do it right, that's going to be about 10 grand a month, which in the context of this conversation doesn't seem like very much money, does it? But that's going to buy Level 10's nuclear package, which is essentially a crap ton of geo keyword targeted content every single month. It's going to be big. Now, after that, I'm going to recommend that they build out their phone room so that they have killer speed to lead, amazing rehash, consistent long-term follow-up with past customers. The phone room is going to have to be on point. Also, how about this? Create a referral program, send direct mail to all of the customers 10 times per year. It's hard to spend this much budget. How about this? Hire 5 full-time brand ambassadors. They can visit every customer after every job and get online reviews from 50 to 75% of your customers. If you're doing 6,600 a year customers and you're getting 50% of those, let's just say on the low end, 50%, you're getting like what, 3,300 a year. You're going to have 15,000 online reviews. It's just going to get stupid. And then also your brand ambassadors are going to get photos of the job, of the customer, of the guy standing there. Hey, 100% satisfied, Bay State Bath. We love them. You're going to get referrals. And then they're going to get fresh leads by knocking on the neighbors' doors. And you still have money left in the budget. $1.5 million in a month. That's a lot of money to spend. So take some more money and let's send direct mail to specific neighborhoods where you know that you can sell a lot of bathrooms because the age and value of the homes and you have a history of selling in that neighborhood like crazy. So let's just pound those guys, I don't know, once, twice, 3 times a month, something like that. Also, enhance your tech stack. Make sure that your banner ads show up everywhere on the internet that people are, wherever that is. You see how this works? I know this works because I quarterbacked this exact same strategy for Horizon Services back in the 20-teens. When I showed up, they were doing about $44 million in sales. So they were bigger than the company I'm talking about today. And we just stacked most everything that I just talked about, and we grew it to $150 million in 6 years. It took 6 years, not 5. But they were only spending 10% of their budget on marketing, not 12%. And about 5 years in, I had this conversation with the owner. His name was Mark Aiken. You've heard me talk about him. I remember I got on a call with him. He had just got back from participating in one of those fundraiser golf tournaments the day before, the kind where local business leaders and professional athletes, they golf together for some kind of a good cause. Anyway, he said he was wearing his orange Horizon Services logo golf shirt or whatever, obviously. And during the course of the day, he said he had multiple people come up to him and they said, man, I see you everywhere. TV, radio, newspaper, mailbox, online. It's like, I can't get away from you. And so he said to me, he's like, hey, Rich, you think maybe I'm getting overexposed? I had like 5 people tell me they see me everywhere yesterday. Do you think we need to maybe dial it back a little bit? Dial it down a little. Man, we're going to turn the dial to 11, my friend. Your goal is 150 million. You have to be overexposed. Do you think that Coke or Nike or McDonald's or Ford or whatever is worried about overexposure?
'Cause you're everywhere to me. And when I close my eyes, it's you I see.
Well, there's a few obvious questions. The first one is, okay, why are you telling me all of this? Number two, okay, that's a nice plan, but I'm nowhere close to that. Look, I barely have $1.5 million in annual revenue, let alone monthly ad spend. What am I supposed to do with this information? And then the third question would be, okay, yep, it's a nice plan, but where do I start? Well, I'm going to answer the first two questions today on this video, and then I'm going to create a separate video to answer the third question about where to start and what to do, whatever your budget is right now. So that video is coming later. We'll put the link to it after we do it. It's not done yet, but you will put the link to it when it's done. Okay. So let's go back to the other questions. Why am I telling you this? Because I want you to realize that you have barely even scratched the surface yet in your marketing. Everyone always seems to myopically think that if they're spending a bunch of money on some kind of advertising, that everybody's going to automatically see it, they're going to hear it, they're going to ingest it, they're going to like it, and they're going to want to buy as a result of it. Here's something kind of odd that I do. If I'm ever on a flight to go visit a client, I try to make small talk with other passengers on the plane just to test something out. If I get a little conversation going with them, they're going to inevitably always ask me, why am I flying to whatever this town is that I'm going into? And I always say that I'm doing marketing with such and such client. And then I ask them the magic question. Oh, have you ever heard of them? More often than not, the answer is no. If they're local. Now, if they're not local, of course they would have heard of it. But most of the time, more often than not, more than half the time, they've never heard of the company. And the exception seems to be the biggest clients with the biggest brands and the biggest marketing budgets. Shocker, right? But even still, I would say it's less than half. Let me give you some data points to drive this point home. So here's the first data point. It's LeBron James. Now, I remember doing a training in the early 20-teens, and for some reason, to kind of make this same point that I'm making today, I asked everybody if they have heard of people. And I started with the most famous people I could think of. Jesus. Everybody had heard of Jesus. What about Mickey Mouse? Everybody had heard of Mickey Mouse. Then I asked about Santa Claus. Everybody had heard of Santa Claus, which, if you notice the trend there, these are mythical characters. I'm not saying Jesus is mythical, but you get the idea. Then I started asking about things like George Washington. Yeah, everybody had heard of him, of course. Ronald Reagan. Everybody had heard of him, of course. Michael Jordan. Everybody had heard of Michael Jordan. Remember, this was the 20-teens. Now, then I asked about LeBron James. And to my astonishment, about 10 to 15% of the audience had never heard of him. Not like, oh, I don't like him, but like, I've never even heard of that name. Who are you talking about? Who is this LeBron James? Now, this is after LeBron had been in the league and won a championship. He'd been in the league for, 8 or 9 years at that time. He was widely considered the best player in the league, world famous, and 15% of people never heard of him. And you think people have heard of you. Okay, so let's go to data point number 2 on this. All right, my client service champions. We did some brand surveys. We hired a company to do this brand survey, and they determined what the market share is. They have a methodology where they call people and they get 300 people that are certain demographics. Anyway, they surveyed service champions' customer base, not their customer base, it's just people that lived in the area in Orange County. And here's the first question that they ask them. They say, when it comes to heating and air conditioning and plumbing, I think that was included, heating, air conditioning, and plumbing, which company comes to mind first? Okay, this is called unaided recall, meaning they don't give you any hints, they don't put a list, they just ask you, hey, it'd be like me asking you now, name a cola, and you might say Coke. Name an airline, and you might say Delta, whatever, okay? There's no list, it's called unaided recall. And here's the weird thing. Out of the 300 people that live in Orange County, okay, where my client has been in business at the time of this survey for 23 years, only 11 out of 300, 11, they have spent millions, literally millions and millions of dollars on marketing, and the number was 11 out of 300. There were 2 competitors that were higher. One had 24 and one had 20 people saying that particular company's name first. Then we asked them this question. Can you think of any other companies in that category? HVAC plumbing, okay? And then we just let people name as many as they could. If they could think of 10, then they listed them all. And out of those 300 people, so 11, again, remember, said service champions, and only 4 more listed them as can you think of any other more? That means that only 15 total people out of 300 surveyed could even think of this company's name. 5%. Okay, so then we go to what's called aided recall, where we show them a list of names of companies and say, okay, how familiar are you with these companies? So now, the list jogs their memory. So they go, oh yeah, I've heard of that company. So here's what happened there. Even when they saw a list and they saw the name Service Champions, 58% of the people who took the survey said that they had never heard of them. Never. Again, this is a company that at the time was doing about 9 figures in revenue. 9 figures. That's $100 million, give or take. And 58% of the people in their community were like, yeah, LeBron James, who's that? Never heard of him. Okay, now on the flip side, 22% of the people registered somewhere in the green on the chart. And hopefully they're putting that on the screen right now, which means that they rated them at a 6 or above out of 10 in terms of familiarity. Which also means if you flip it over, that 78% of the people were like, nope, I can't really say that I know that company. Take Take a second look. Their biggest competitor with the most market share still has 41% of the people that have never heard of them and 66% rated a familiarity of 5 or less. Are you catching my drift here? I don't want to beat a dead horse, but then when we dug even a little bit deeper in the survey, we found that men were familiar with this company at a rate of 33%, but women only 18%. So somehow they were reaching more men than women. I'm not sure how that was, but that's what the number said. I want you to get this through your lovely, but nevertheless thick skull. Most people have never heard of you, no matter how much money you spend, no matter how long you've been around, no matter how great you are, how much your customers love you. They don't know who you are. Now let's go to data point number 3. Okay, so this goes back to when I first got into this industry, remodeling, home improvement, HVAC, etc. This is 2005. I was doing a teleseminar, which we would now call a webinar. Was invited by Tim Mush at the time with Market Sharp. Said, hey, come do this teleseminar. Anyway, there's about 350 people on this tele-webinar thing, and we're going through, we're making, a lot of good points, and I opened it up to questions. And this guy, the first thing he says, he goes, hey, look, everybody in my town already knows me. We've got 50 billboards up. We've had them for years. Everybody knows us. And it was based on this 50 billboard. So I said to him, okay, let me ask you this question. Name the top 3 orthodontists in your market. What do you mean top 3 orthodontists? I said, that's exactly what I asked you. Who are the top 3 orthodontists? Name them right now. Don't look them up. Just name them off the top of your head. And he goes, I don't know. And I go, of course you don't know. Because I could tell the guy was a little bit older. Okay. Now at that time, I was right smack in the middle of 6 kids that all 6 of them ended up getting braces. 2005. So at the time, my oldest was 13. I was just getting into the braces, but man, it was on my mind. So I asked this guy, name the top 3 orthodontists. He couldn't do it. I said, guess what? Nobody's looking at your billboards unless they happen to need whatever. I think he was a window guy or something like that. Like, all of this is to say that nobody's paying attention to you. But the real point is this: there's still tons of people that you can sell your stuff to out there that you haven't even talked to yet, that don't even know you exist. You're not even scratching the surface in your potential customers in your own backyard. A lot of them have seen or heard your ads, but it made no impression whatsoever. Like the orthodontists, right? They've got their billboards up, they've got their ads all over, and this guy had never seen them. Why? Because he wasn't in the market. Maybe the people out there in your market just haven't needed what you sell before, but maybe they do now. Maybe your ads were too vanilla or generic or boring, and you can fix that. You don't need a new market. You don't need a new product. You need to dig deeper into the field that you're already plowing. You've got a line in the kiddie pool fishing, okay, or maybe even a decent sized pond, but your marketing surface area is tiny right now. Everything that you add, whether it's TV or radio or OTT or pay-per-click, Facebook, canvassing, billboards, whatever it is, it all adds reach and frequency and familiarity. Every impression adds trust. Now you have to be careful with this stuff. If you haven't watched my 4 eyes video where I talk about the 4 eyes of marketing, you need to go check that out. The link is in the description. I'm talking about making sure that as your marketing surface area grows, that everything works harmoniously together. It starts with your identity. That's the first eye, getting the message right. Then integration, TV, radio, digital, whatever. All of those should be reinforcing each other. The third eye is iteration, meaning you're consistently and constantly testing new approaches, new concepts, sharing the winners across platforms. And finally, fourth eye, investment, making sure that you're not just spending enough money, but the money is being spent on a balance of both hunting and farming activities. I have a video coming out soon called the Everywhere Strategy Pyramid, where I'm going to dive into the 3 levels of said marketing pyramid. The base level is going to be paid reach, TV, OTT, radio, pay-per-click, mailers, door knocking, things like that. High coverage, which is actually going to be split into 2 halves, hunting and farming. And then the middle level of that pyramid is what I call owned content, social media, YouTube, podcasts, email, reviews, shows. This is about frequency and education. And then the top level of that pyramid is advocacy. This is your referrals, neighbors, job site signs, community buzz. This is going to give you brand gravity. But I'm going to leave that for another day, another video. For now, the market isn't your bottleneck. It's you. It's your ability to reach it, to educate it, and to convert it. Small-minded marketers will say, our market's too small. Great marketers are going to say, we haven't earned enough attention yet. So by way of conclusion, you're not competing for buyers, you're competing for brain space. If people don't know who you are, they can't buy from you. And if they kind of know who you are, but they can't remember what you stand for, you're still going to lose. There's no such thing as overexposure. There's only overkill when your message is weak. Every ad that you don't run is one less drop in the bucket. And the guy who fills his bucket the fastest is going to win. You don't need to find more people. You need more people to find you. So to answer my client's question, how do you go from 23 million to 150 million? Not by adding plumbing, not by stretching across 10 states. You do it by opening the door that's been in front of you the entire time, your existing market, and deciding that you actually want to own it. You have to make a decision to be everywhere.
'Cause you're